Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. I want to talk about books a little bit because
Yes.
I've been listening to you guys. I
Yes.
mean, I like to read, and I talked to my hairdresser down here in Mashpee, and she recommended this book. Her name is Jackie, and I found out that this book was just north of soft porn. The whole thing was about some woman getting excited.
Oh, good
Jackie,
smart.
you're a trollop. Wait till I see you the next time I need my haircut. And the other thing is, Wiggy, if I was the judge about the room selection thing, you'd be guilty. You'd be guilty.
He would
Yeah.
be guilty.
Knew it.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, some
That's
said,
low.
somebody on, I think it was a text line or maybe in the Twitch chat, said the actual douche move is Courtney putting her luggage in a room before anybody else gets there.
Everybody was there.
But
No, it was just
don't-
you and I.
I have no You should pick the room. You are I said it before, it's chivalry.
No, it's 2025.
And we make
It's
fun of
equality.
Greg. We make fun of Greg a lot. Greg got there, said what room's available, and just walked down into it.
Yeah. I'm no fuss. I
Greg.
really am honestly just I'll sleep on the couch.
I treat Courtney just like I would treat anybody else.
I sleep on the air mattress, but it doesn't stay inflated. But yeah. All right. Listen, they strung a couple wins together here, Mike Milbury.
They were very improbable wins, actually. I mean, Swayman was incredible in Florida. They made 107 shot attempts in that game, which is ridiculous. And most of the game was played in their end. I think in both the Tampa and the Florida game, they iced it about a dozen times in each game. It was really hanging on. Swayman again was brilliant against Tampa. Tampa sort of tripped coming out of the gate and gave him the win. But I saw the comments by Cam and Charlie Jacobs about they're going to make a decision at the trading deadline of what to do. Well, they can't be serious about that. I mean, their power play penalty kill ratio is terrible. Their goal differential in the Eastern Conference is the second worst. Only Pittsburgh's is worst in the conference. They're hanging on with the other teams have games in hand. They could very well fall out of the playoff position. They should be, if anything, they should be thinking we're going to accumulate draft picks and then put some pressure on the scouting staff or expand it if you have to. They need to find some gems in the third and fourth round that they didn't expect to pick up because they need to fill the holes in the middle of the ice, and that's the only way you're going to do it. You're not going to be able to go out and buy it. We've just found that out by the attempted free agent signing of Lindholm, who's a serviceable player. But when I look at the roster, there's goaltending, which is now coming back to where we thought it would be. I'm a little disappointed in McAvoy, and Lindholm hasn't played much, but they should be a pretty good unit. And then they have a couple of quality players, Marchand and Pasternak up front, and they got to be productive if this team's going to win. They have to be productive because beyond that, you have serviceable players, but not players of excellence. Let's face it. So they have to find some players of excellence to compete. I mean, you take a look at the Western Conference and a team like Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl. There's no way they're in the same boat as them. They have to find quality elite level players if they want to get back to where they think they want to get back. And everybody knows their intentions are good. They spend enough money, but it's just the execution. And they fell into a hole when Krejci and Bergeron left, and they're crawling out of it right now.
Well, Mike, Cam Neely's exact words were that there's two paths and they're going to figure out if they're buyers or if they're going to retool. Can you explain to me what he means by retooling and what that would actually entail with this team?
I don't know what it means to him, but for me, retooling would be selling. I mean, it's either buying or selling. I mean, retooling, you can shuffle the deck, but in my mind, they gave up all these draft picks over the last few years. They've got to get some of them back, even if they're not first round picks. There are a lot of gems in later rounds. We've seen that. I mean, Marchand's not a first round pick. There are a lot of guys that aren't first round picks. I mean, it's just you got to be good and you got to be lucky and you got to have enough patience to let some of these guys that are going to be drafted develop for a year or two. It's going to be a process before they get back to the elite level.
But it sounds like to me your opinion is on January 16th that they need to be sellers. Like this one, it's not happening right now.
It's not happening. I mean, they had a 6-game losing streak. They won 2 games in an improbable fashion, and it really is part of the whole equation now, as I mentioned, goaltending, defense, which has been, somewhat suspect lately, but hopefully when McAvoy and Lindholm get back, it'll button down. And then they're going to have to spice up their special teams, which have been dreadful all year long. But if you're looking at that formula as a formula for winning a Stanley Cup, I beg to differ.
I mean, one bright light, I like seeing Frederick go after Lilleberg on Tuesday night. I
don't question their courage. I don't question their attitude or their willingness to go after it. I just question the amount of talent that they possess. And that, we've seen it all over the place. You can see it in the New England Patriots. If you don't have the talent, you're not going to go very far. I mean, this team has enough talent to be right where they are, in the middle of the pack. I think they're seventh in the conference and in danger of going down as well as going up. But it's not a team that you feel comfortable that they're definitely going to be in the playoffs and they're definitely going to win at least a round. It's just not that type of team. So for me, you're either buying or you're selling. I don't know what Cam means by retooling. He may have a way to define that, but for me, retooling means setting up for another draft that hopefully your guys can come up big and you can pluck somebody at certainly the center position, which needs shoring up.
Mike, hypothetically speaking, you would be the best person possibly to ask this question. If you were the general manager of a hockey team and two players, which used to be best friends, turned into frenemies, would you be aware of it?
I would hope so. I'd like to think so. I mean, certainly if I were coach, I would be aware of it. You're a player, and so you're right at the level of everybody else in the room. Then you're the coach. You're one step removed. The manager is a step removed further from that. But you would think there'd be enough intelligence and cooperation in the room to let people know that there was a potential problem. I have no idea if there's any problem or not. I mean, certainly they've tried to douse it with water, but as far as awareness is concerned, I would say certainly if I were coaching, I'd be aware of it. And certainly if I'm a general manager, I'd expect my coach to share that with me if I didn't know it already.
Mike, how do you sell to a passionate Bruins fan base that you're a team that you're probably going to be sellers, and you have guys like Pasta, Marchand, McAvoy, Lindo, like you're a team with a good veteran core?
It's just take a look at the standings.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the way they've played throughout the course of this season. Take a look at the lack of centers that are of quality offensive production. It's just not there. Take a look at the goal differential. Take a look at the special teams. It's just, take a look at the statistics and goals down the line. Besides Marchand and Pasternak, it's not very pretty.
But you're not saying that they're underachieving. You're saying they don't have the talent.
Yeah, that's right. I'm saying they're right, spot on where they should be. Yeah. They're a bubble team, and and the statistics will tell me that, but my eyeballs tell me that too. When you guys watched the games against Florida, Florida was all over them. The possession of the puck was lopsided. They got a good start against Tampa, and then they fell back, and Tampa made a run at them, and they wound up getting a couple of empty netters, but it was not a resounding win. It was a much needed win in both cases, but it was not like, wow, they've got it figured out.
So how do you go from a couple years ago being, setting NHL records to now you're a team that's sellers
on the bubble?
Well, no, you're not even on. Like you're not even on the bubble because you could potentially be out. But you've turned into, with relatively the same guys, a team that is now retooling or rebuilding, or whatever the hell word that Cam wants to use.
Yeah. Well, from that team, Taylor Hall was on it, I guess, for a while. He's gone. All the free agents
you lost
were gone, you lost Bergeron and Krejci. So there was like a half dozen impactful players. I'm not saying all of that group was, over the top all-star, but there was a lot of loss of talent. And the guys that we know, Bergeron and Krejci, who were just picked on the all quarter century team or whatever the hell it is, which makes no sense to me to make quarter century teams.
Love them or hate them. You got rid of DeBrusque.
That's right.
I mean, there's
That's
been,
right.
There's been a subtract.
No, I know that there's been guys
talent,
that have left, but I think at the time when we talked about a lot of these guys, people were ready to move DeBrusque out of here. People were ready to move Taylor Hall out of here. I'm just saying that it's a massive fall because I guess you added some plays, but it's just a massive fall for this team that you go from potentially cup contender to now retooling.
Yeah. The hope was that Lindholm would become a top-line center, and we talked about this. He played with some awfully good players in Calgary to get his points. He's not a bad player, but he's not a great player, and he's not a top-line center. And Zadorov he's a useful player. Is he, whatever they paid him, $6 million a year? Is he that level? I don't know. He's sort of lumbering out there most of the time, and he's not a big offensive threat. He hits some guys pretty hard because he's huge, but did he make a big difference in their defensive structure? I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, Mike. By the way, we are moving closer to the North Shore Roadshow at your sister's restaurant night before, and you found us a spot up there, which I think we're going to try to make happen. So,
all right,
nice
great.
one.
I'm going to go on a scouting trip this week to see it.
And I believe you said that you're going to be behind the bar at your sister's restaurant when we do the night
If
before.
that's where you want me to be, I'll be there, Greg.
All right.
All right.
The great Mike Milbury. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.